Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the return of the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast here on G Show Productions on gshow.ca. I'm your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. Thanks for being here for this episode. I know this has been a while since we've done an episode like this, podcast in general. It's just been really busy times. We're winding down to the end of our hockey season here, and the mmjhl is a huge part of that. Been broadcasting a bunch of games, and it's been a lot of fun during these playoffs. This episode, as always, of the mmjhl podcast is brought to you by McCann Fasteners and Tools, your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. Be sure to check out their store locations in Brandon and Winnipeg today, as well as checking out their website at mccannfasteners.shop. We're also brought to you by Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years in the agricultural industry. To find out why they've been so trusted and so relied upon, be sure to check out their website at terrico.ca in the right-hand corner there. And to Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Thank you to them for continuing to support and sponsor Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League hockey here on the network. Really do appreciate all of our brands here that have chosen G Show Productions for this 2023-2024 hockey season. In the amateur sports scene specifically, for us here, that's what we've been doing this season, broadcasting not only in this league, but the Manitoba Female Hockey League as well. And as for this league, man, it's the old cliche, the cream of the crop, rising to the top. The Pembina Valley Twisters and St. James Junior Canucks have swept their way in both series to the final, setting up a rematch for the third time in the last four playoffs. And we haven't been able to broadcast any games from the St. James side of things. We're planning to do that for game 3 if we can find a way to actually find the modem in the Civic Center. What's going on over there, fellas? I don't understand. You got Wi-Fi in the arena, but we can't find a modem. It's pretty crazy to me. But we have been able to cover Pembina Valley Twisters, specifically in the Final Four. And even though this team got outshot in games 2, 3, and 4, they relied on fantastic goaltending, great defense in front of that goaltending, and a really opportunistic group propelled them to the finals. And we had a chance to broadcast game 2 and 4 of that series from Southdale. We'll show you highlights from the clinching game in game number 4, as it was already 1-0 at this point. Puck gets dumped in as the Twisters struck first. They end up feeding this to Alex Van Dynes. He finds Riley Gertzen in the slot for a one-timer, putting it past Ashton Haworth into an empty net. Slade Southern also getting an assist on that play. Into later on in the third period, where it would be Merrick DeGrave ends up missing that puck at first. It ends up being dumped in, played all the way in, and as the Riels look to break out here, well, it's a beautiful play by the leading scorer in these playoffs and the regular season. Merrick DeGrave takes it to the net, gets stopped, but as you can see, there's congestion in front of the net. The Twister is able to work this puck all the way back there, and it would be Cody Clark scoring his first goal of the postseason, the insurance marker in this one, to propel the Twisters to a 3-0 lead and for them to reach their third final in the last 4 seasons. They last made it there in 2021-2022, and that's when the start of the back-to-back happened for the St. James Junior Canucks. This time around, instead of looking for their first mmjhl championship in quite a while, they'll be looking to three-peat this season to complete it, but Pembina Valley will be no easy task. I had a chance to catch up with Blair Mooney, head coach of the St. James Junior Canucks, in this episode, the only guest for this week, to talk about how this season has gone, the playoff run so far, and what he expects from this Pembina Valley Twisters team, and much more here. Coming up next on the mmjhl podcast, brought to you by McCann Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, and Goaltenders. Up next, Blair Mooney joining the show. A returning guest to the mmjhl podcast, head coach of the now 4-time finalists looking for a third straight championship, 4 years in a row of making it to the finals. The St. James Junior Canucks. It's their bench boss, Blair Mooney. Blair, unreal achievement. I mean, it is four in a row. I mean, that first one coming in 2018-19 in terms of the final appearance. This team has gone back to back to make it back to this point now where this team has gone perfect so far on this run in search for a three-peat. How special has it been to sit back and watch it all unfold?
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's yeah, I mean, it's been special for sure. The back in 2018-19 seems like a while ago, but it was those two COVID years there in between. So four straight trips here, and it's been a good run, and hopefully we can cap it off with another one.
The first time I had you on this podcast this year, we talked about when you took over and the steps that the management took to bringing more talent and to correcting, what had gone wrong in terms of that team missing the playoffs that year before you took over. I mean, looking at it now with this group that this organization has built, how much can you say about these players and really what they've been able to do locking in for yet a third straight run here?
Yeah, it's anytime you got or have the success that we've had over the last few years, it's um, like the players that are doing all the work on the ice, right? So you got to give them all the credit. We've been fortunate to have a lot of talent come through the team the last few years. The biggest thing is just their commitment level to the team. Like if you've got the talent, but they're not there all the time, or they're not as committed. I mean, talent only gets you so far. So the work the guys have been willing to put in, along with the talent we've been able to accumulate, but the work that they put in and how tight they are as a group is has led to our success so far.
This team in the regular season went out and made two big trades, bringing in Jason Butler as well as a player in Chase Sobey. Both have been, important as well as the rest of the team to the success so far. But how huge has that been to not only see players like Tyrone Willen and Rory Neal stepping up, but all the rest of the players on this team so far doing their job through these 8 games?
Yeah, that's been the strength of our team the last few years has been our depth, and we thought this year we had an opportunity to go out and get those guys at the deadline, and um, we're kind of in a weird spot where we were in first. We were having a successful season, but we just felt like there was maybe something missing there. And we had a position of strength where we had nine healthy like defensemen that were fully capable of playing in the league. So we had to make a tough decision, but we used that in order to bring in Payson in a three-way trade, and he's fit in nicely. I know he knows some of the guys from spring hockey from when they were younger and stuff. So it was a smooth transition with him, and Chase Sobey we thought would be a nice guy to add to our bottom six and add to that depth, a little bit of experience. He's 21 years old, been around the league for a few years, but we thought come playoff time it would be just adding to that depth because in the past the depth has been what's led to our success, and we wanted to make sure we were bolstering that depth, and those guys have helped do a really good job of that.
Pointing back to the regular season for a moment, this team goes 37-7-0-1. There were some dips in play at times, but yeah, I mean, this team able to bounce back and be able to come away with yet another, I mean, amazing record, 75 points compared to the second place Twisters, which we'll get into them in just a bit here, since that's the team you boys are playing in the finals, you and the group. They had 58 points. How much does it say about this group, the experience that comes along with it, to know when even when things weren't exactly going your way in the regular season, they were able to come through and become even better as time went along?
Yeah, I think facing adversity during the year is a good thing, and that's the one challenge, or there's more than one, but one of the challenges when you coach a team that's had been successful over the last couple of years. We've been fortunate to have some good records in the last two seasons, and then again this year, the third year in a row where we've had a pretty good record in the regular season. The biggest challenge this year is keeping the guys interested through that regular season and keeping them engaged and finding ways to find some meaning in some of those games in January when they're in first by a decent amount and coming to the rink and it's cold and it's another game that they're just kind of waiting to get through to the playoffs. You got to find ways to make it meaningful for them, and we found a way to do that for the majority of the year. And it's good to lose a couple along the way. If you go through winning, like, it's impossible to go 45-0, but if you did, I mean, you learn lessons from losing sometimes, right? So it's good to lose the odd one. You don't want to lose too many, obviously, but if you can learn from those losses and move forward in a good way, then that's what we try to do. And that's like it, you want to make winning a habit, right? So we've been fortunate to do that, and then you learn it. If you do lose, you got to take something from it. So we've done a good job of that over the last couple of years.
7 straight wins to end the regular season, 8 straight wins to start the playoffs, into a fourth straight final, of course, looking for that three-peat. But in these playoffs, when you look at them, I mean, in that first round against the Railer Express, even though it was a sweep, there were times where that team was out shooting this Canuck squad, and there were some close one-goal games in there. I guess there hasn't been that adversity in terms of losing so far, but has this team been able to, learn from those moments, I guess, throughout this postseason to keep this team on their toes in terms of, coming away in those close games? How beneficial has that been so far to see this team still being able to win, and whether it's blowouts or these close games so far in the postseason?
Yeah, you got to be willing to play different types of game. Like, if you get committed to one style and then all of a sudden you get taken out of it, that can lead to being uncomfortable and stuff. So that's one thing our team's been good at, is being comfortable in lots of different types of games. Like, Transcona was a bit of a rougher series, and lots of special teams and stuff like that. We were able to kind of weather that a little bit and cash in on the power plays when we had the opportunity, but just play a physical style in that series. And then against Charleswood, it wasn't quite as physical, but obviously it's a big rival of ours in St. James, and guys that have known each other their whole lives, growing up across the bridge from each other. I know they got most of their guys from Charleswood, but they've had some imports there as well. But so there's lots of those guys that play against each other for a lot of their life, and it's just, you got to get comfortable in all those situations. You got to be comfortable playing in tight games. You got to be comfortable playing in when you kind of get pushed at a little bit, and when you get pushed out of your comfort zone, you got to find a way to adapt, right? And we've been good at doing that. Our guys are willing to play lots of different styles of hockey, and that's what you got to do come playoff time. You can't get stuck in your ways. You got to adapt.
No, I'm sure you agree with this, but not only is it important to, of course, have the skill, but the strong mentality as well. This team, I'm sure they're aware of it, looking to become the first team. Speaking of Charleswood, to three-peat since they did back in the 2000s. What can you say about this group, though? Focusing on the task at hand, or say staying in the present and not really thinking ahead. Really, truly, I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but taking things one game at a time so far. How huge has that been in terms of this team's success this season, too?
Yeah, I mean, we've throughout the year, I mean, we had goals for ourselves at the start of the season, and you kind of check them off as you go, but you try to break the season up into little sections, like each 9 game set, when you go through and play everybody once, or try and treat it like a best of 9, just to get in like a playoff mentality type of thing, win each series, and try to look at the season series against other teams throughout the year, and try to make sure you have the season series. And before you know it, if you get all those things, and if it kind of becomes a habit where you're viewing things as like needing to win and stuff like that. So it's become important for us. The guys playing desperate at times, but also playing with confidence. So when you're playing, there's a fine line between being confident and a little too confident, and sometimes you flirt with that, but and you get taught a little bit of a lesson. So throughout the run in the playoffs and adapting to different opponents, you just got to take what's in front of you, and just do your best to adapt along the way.
This team faces off against the Pembina Valley Twisters for the third time out of these four straight final appearances. They beat this team back in 2018-19. Obviously, these teams have changed a lot since then. More so, there's more of those players that played in the 2021-2022 series that, I mean, still looking to settle the score, I'm sure, coming up here. But this Pembina Valley team gave this St. James Junior Canucks team in the regular season two losses. You guys finished 3-2 against them. Just having a chance to watch them so far in this postseason, a team that really does a great job of boxing out in front, clearing away rebounds, and of course, getting great goaltending. They've allowed the least goals against so far out of any team. So this time around, I mean, with a three-peat on the line for this team. What's going to be the, I guess, preparation, the mindset heading into the best of the best here in the MMJHL, an upcoming best of seven series starting this Friday?
Yeah, they've done a really good job of limiting the goals against. They got a couple goalies they've been going back and forth between that are both very good goalies, and they do, like you said, they kind of lock up that slot area and they try to keep everything to the outside and limit those high danger chances, right? So you just got to get comfortable. Like I said, you got to adapt. You got to get comfortable playing a game like that. Kind of pick your spots, not force things. When you try to force things, that's when you get a bad bounce or a turnover, and they're going the other way. So if you're trying to force things into bad areas, you're going to get bad results. So we got to take care of the puck. We got to put it to good spots. Just not get frustrated, got to find ourselves comfortable playing a lower scoring game. A couple of the games we played against them this year um, were some lower score games. We also had one where we got six. There was another one where they got six. So it's a little bit of everything. It's a team we're pretty familiar with, although the bodies change over the years. We still have a crew from that 21-22 team, and Cale Price and Noah Gilbert, Brady Whiteley, Tyrone, Rory, Maddie, Mason Vandell. We got a lot of guys from that team, so we're hoping to rely on some experience, but also just make sure we got a tight game plan, and you got to respect who you're playing. Right, they're a good team. They had one really long run during the season where they won. I think it was like 14 in a row,
Right.
and yeah, so you got to respect who you're playing, and we're going to do that, and hopefully get up to a good start on Friday.
Yeah, it's really going to be a fantastic series to watch, I think. And I mean, does that, I guess, make this team even that more excited that knowing that, there's been players from this Twisters team and that, your team that have played against each other, does it make this, I mean, that much more special knowing that it's the third straight time out of these 4 years that there's been playoffs in the last four seasons that's happened that these teams get to go at it for potentially a final time. We might not see this matchup coming up again next season.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, um, anytime you can get to the finals and go on a bit of a run in the playoffs, I mean, you're not going to get too picky with who you play. You're happy to be there, but when you're playing out of four finals and you play the same team three times, obviously there's a like a little bit of juice there. Like I know they're going to be fired up to play us, and we're not stupid to think that they want to be the team that knocks us off, and other teams around the league probably want to see us get knocked off. That was pretty apparent with some things that happened later in the year, but it's it's one of those things. Like we have a lot of respect for them. You'd hope they have a lot of respect for us. Got good relationships with their coaches and stuff, and their management. So it'll be a good series. It'll be tight. It's gonna be fun. Anytime, like I said, anytime you're in the finals, it's fun. You just try and make the boys realize that this isn't something that, like, down the line you're going to look back and realize that, like, it's pretty special the run we've been on. So got to make sure we come out on the right end of it.
Well, you are right about that, Blair. It has been a very special run and a very special thing to see, sitting back covering the league this season, to see this team, stepping up once again and making it to a third final in the last 3 years and a fourth straight final at that. Best of luck in the playoffs coming up. We hope that we can get down to at McDonald to actually call some of these games. Going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
And Blair Mooney, head coach, looking for 3 in a row as the bench boss for the St. James Junior Canucks. As mentioned, it's their fourth straight final. A bit odd in a way since it was back in 2018-19 when that streak started. Of course, due to COVID-19, they didn't play playoffs in 2019-2020. The season really didn't even happen aside from a few games in 2020. 2021, I guess. It would be classified as that, even though they didn't even play games in 2021. But here's the schedule. Of course, kicking off tonight. Game 2 will be Sunday night in Morris. G-Show Productions will not be on location for tonight's action. We'll be at the Hockey for All Center broadcasting Game 1 of the ESO Cup West Regionals between the Winnipeg Ice and Regina Rebels. That's going to be a fantastic series, but this one should bring a lot of entertainment no matter what the score of the series is. Expecting for all these games to be pretty competitive. We'll be on location, hopefully a broadcast game number 3 of this series, game 5 and game 7 as well. Pembina Valley has all the calls for the games in Morris on their YouTube channel. And yeah, as for this series, these are the 2 best teams in the playoffs so far, both putting their winning streak on the line tonight of 8. So we take a look at the season series. St. James took the first 2 games, but that was really before Pembina Valley really hit their stride, finishing as one of the best teams in the league. You could argue the hottest team in the league as the season went along. They won 2 in a row on December 17th and the 26th of January against St. James. And of course, the Canucks won the season series 3-2, winning that rubber match game out of the 5th game on February 25th. And as we take a look at these 2 teams, I mean, look, the top end talent is evident for St. James, but that top line of Merrick DeGrave can do a lot of damage for Pembina Valley, and they also got some depth themselves as well, right? This has been the best defensive team by the numbers so far in the playoffs in terms of goals against, with only 10. So going to be the toughest test so far for the St. James Junior Canucks. It's going to be a lot of fun to follow and cover this series. Let's make my prediction right now, I guess, on how I think this series is going to go. I think Pembina Valley, I'm not sure if we've seen the best from them on a consistent basis so far in these playoffs. It's a team that has been really reliant on surviving in their defensive zone, and they played fantastic structurally. Very tough to get rebounds in front of their net. They box out their opponents super well, and they have 2 fantastic goaltenders like Logan Enns, bringing in Owen Larocque as well. They've almost split games during these playoffs, and usually, you expect for a number 1 to be riding all the games, right? To be playing all the games, but they have that luxury. So I think that's a huge advantage for them, that they can go to any one of those goaltenders. Their special teams look dangerous as well during this postseason. Like I said, they got 3 lines that can beat you. They're an opportunistic team that has a really good forecheck and can make you pay if you're not on your toes. But for the St. James Junior Canucks team, I just feel like they have too much offensively for any team really in this league to handle. They defend super well too, and hey, they might not have as strong as a goaltending tandem overall as the Pembina Valley Twisters, but Noah Gilbert, I mean, this is his last years of his mmjhl career regardless, since he'll be aging out along with players like Tyrone Will and Cale Price, Brady Whiteley. But yeah, I think that Noah Gibson is going to be on his A game. Of course, undefeated so far in 8 postseason starts. And yeah, just look at the top end talent when you got guys like Tyrone Willen playing the way he is. Rory Neal as well. He's tied for the lead in goals out of the whole league in the playoffs so far. I just feel like the offense is going to be too much for St. James to handle. They'll find different ways to beat you, not just one. And I think that over the course of this series, they're going to overwhelm the Pembina Valley Twisters. I could see Pembina Valley winning 1 game in this series, maybe even more than that. Wouldn't be surprised if this goes 6 or 7, but I'm going to be rolling with the St. James Junior Canucks to win this one. Like I said, yes, Pembina Valley has really great defense, really great goaltending, but so do the St. James Junior Canucks, and they got even better at the trade deadline. Like me and Blair talked about, adding a guy in Payson Butler who was fit in beautifully to that top six. Chase Sobey has been a key penalty killer for them and played a key role in the bottom six. And yeah, I just think they got too much for not only Pembina Valley to handle, but for any team to handle over the course of a 7-game series. And I feel like they're going to be bringing their A game. So give me the St. James Junior Canucks to win this one in 5, even though I could see this one going more than that. As for the stats leaders, to show you guys these to end things off, we'll take a look at the points leaders first off. And Nicholas Guberman, right now the points leader, Tyrone Willen, Rory Neal chasing him, as well as, Merrick DeGrave at 9 points. He's just not in this top 5. So you can see Guberman and Rory Neal both tied for the leading goals. Neal has a chance to surpass that, not only tonight, but moving forward. Cale Price has been excellent team captain for this St. James Junior Canucks team. Taking a look at the assist leaders, Willen been fantastic in this aspect, but right now the leader is Tyler Rubini, also Cale Price being there too. And then, for the goaltending leaders, was not lying. That goaltending tandem is nasty for the Pembina Valley Twisters, but like you can see there, Noah Gilbert with a fantastic playoffs so far. And showing you the schedule again, be sure to come down to one of these rinks if you can. It should be a fantastic series. And yeah, I'm riding with the overall skill and just, I think the destiny too. I think it would be really cool to see a three-peat, something that hasn't been done since the Charleswood Hawks did it back in the 2000s. And it would cap off a special career for players like Noah Gilbert, Cale Price, as well as Brady Whiteley, Tyrone Willen as well. The list goes on. Chase Sobey too, being an O2. So yeah, that's going to do it, folks. Leave your thoughts in the comments who you think is going to take this year's mmjhl championship. The Jack McKenzie Trophy, as all roads officially end in this round. They all end here. gshow.ca is going to be pumped to bring you coverage of game number 3 coming up on Tuesday, but that's going to do it for this episode. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. We got the MFHL podcast coming out next, which is a crossover episode since it is the West Regional. Winner of that best of 3 goes to the SO Cup in Vernon, BC later on this month. Be sure to come down to that arena. The Hockey for All Center, if you want to check out not only some great female hockey action, which will be the series this weekend, but as well as checking out the U18 provincials for the boys side of things. Want to thank goaltenders, McCann Fasteners and Tools in Terrico for sponsoring this edition of the MMJHL podcast, and to you, the viewer, for tuning in. Leave a subscription, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications if you don't want to miss any future uploads here to do with the MMJHL. And yeah, also thank you to Blair Mooney for coming on as the guest. Gotta go now, folks. It's time to get into the MFHL podcast. For you MMJHL fans, though, enjoy the start of the MMJHL finals between the Canucks and Twisters. If you'll be in attendance, stay safe out there. Have a great and wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week when the next edition of this podcast comes out. Take care, everybody.